have to tell you, this is going to be the weirdest podcast I've probably ever recorded because you're a friend and I feel weird interviewing you. Is that normal? You're a classic interview. You've interviewed people all over the place. So
No, I think
did
it's
you ever have
amazing
that?
because when you and I met, it was through YMC, and we were like mom to mom. We were colleagues.
Yeah.
And there's another part of, I guess, our relationship or experience where I'm the girl you used to watch on TV when you were a kid and probably never thought that you would be working with me at, some future date. So I think it's super cool actually, because we've never had this conversation before.
We really haven't. And I thought, I know so much about you just through osmosis, but it's never been sort of a formal discussion like we're about to sort of have. So it's a weird space to be in, but I'm happy to be having it with you. So let's just start then with sort of your career in overview. And it's a big one. You've done just about everything, from being one of the first VJs at MuchMusic, successful entrepreneur at Yummy Mummy Club. So how about you just walk us through that journey, sort of the abbreviated version?
Okay, well, I think what's interesting about my journey is that I've managed to take what I love to do and turn it into a career. Something that I hope that my kids are able to do as well. Do what you love and then you never work a day in your life. And I think that my life has really been like that. It started when I was 16, when I got a job at the local radio station in Montreal at Chaume FM. I was the music librarian. I didn't get paid, but I got access to all the DJs and the bands and free tickets and albums, and it was a great experience. And from there, I worked at I worked at record stores, I worked at A&A and Sam the Record Man at the same time. I managed artists. I worked when I went to Ottawa University. I worked at Records on Wheels. So I've always sort of found a way to make a living in the space that I love. I moved to Toronto to work at the New Music Show, which was a show on City TV that was the most progressive music show, I think, in the world. I was answering the phones. I worked my way up. And while I was there, I also worked part-time at the local cable company on camera. When MuchMusic launched 3 years later, I made a demo tape. I showed it to JD Roberts, who was one of the stars of MuchMusic, and he said, "That's terrible." And he did another demo tape.
Wow.
He did another demo tape with me, and they hired me. So I worked at MuchMusic for 10 years on camera, 3 years behind the scenes, so 13 years in its entirety. I left because I kind of grew up, and the thrill of interviewing bands, it was kind of gone.
Right.
I was in my 30s at that point, and this idea of artists having always something brilliant to say wasn't true. And all this excitement that I initially had about bands, a lot of them were just sort of average people with guitars in their hands. And so anyway, I wanted to move on. So I had my own talk show on Life Network called Real Life with Erica M, which I did for 2 years. Because you're kind of in this industry now, Candace, I can tell you that I did 180 shows each year.
Wow.
And each show had 4 guests. It was 5 days a week. It was
Hmm.
it was a huge undertaking, and I learned so much doing that show. And then it was over. Did it for 2 years. And then I met my husband, got knocked up, and a whole new life began. That's where you and I met. I started to get involved in the world of parenting because that's where my new interest lay. And I became the editor of a small magazine called What's Up Kids. And then I came up with the concept of a TV series called Yummy Mummy. I sold the concept. It was bought by Life Network and Discovery Health US. And we shot that for 2 years. And it was a precursor to what I built right after that. When the show finished running, I started a little website called yummymummyclub.ca, which was an online website that gave women a safe space to, have a voice about their opinions and their journey of motherhood. And that's where I met you. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I did a Twitter call out and said, "Hey, I'm coming to Ottawa. Does anyone want to meet up?" And you and two other people showed up, and we have been fast friends since then. And that was what, 15 years ago?
I want to say, yeah, like when did Twitter start? 2009, 2010?
Yeah, it was probably
Yeah,
2009. Yeah, so it's
yeah,
14 years ago.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy to me to think about that. And Twitter was fun then, unlike its current state.
yeah.
Not such a fun
It
place
was,
to be.
well, interestingly enough, Twitter was how I met the majority of the people that I hired. And when YMC was at its heyday, we had at least 50 writers who worked for us, wrote for us
Yep.
on an ongoing basis, not to mention a staff of women who all worked from home, running the infrastructure of YMC and all of the branded content that we produce. We had quite a large team of amazing women and a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And that was really an amazing experience. It was like life-changing for me.
Me included, by the way. That whole experience, I learned so much just from being involved in YMC about the digital space and about, you know, well, actually about working with women. I mean, it was such a strong group and everybody just got along. It was really wonderful. It was just really one of the best work experiences I've ever had.
Thank you. And I pride myself on that. And I'll tell you why. When I worked at Much Music, it was an incredible experience for many reasons. So much so that I'm doing a keynote now about what you can learn about innovation through Much Music in the 80s. Because what Much Music in the 80s did, there are so many lessons that are transferable today for companies and individuals. That and one of the things is how to build community, how to build innovation internally. Um, Diversity was a big one, and I like to tell the story about how Much Music really was cutting edge and the benefits to companies by following what Much Music did. So anyway, I have this very long and entertaining keynote that I'd like to give, which talks a lot about the good and the bad about working at Much Music. And there were some things that were actually terrible. And one of the things for me was I was told that I was replaceable.
Mhm.
And I knew that was actually a lie because no one can replace me. They can get another on air person, but no one will ever replace me. They can't. And that is the beauty of being authentic and carving out your unique space, because the person that they replaced me with, or tried to, was this fantastic woman called Sukyin Lee. And she looked nothing like me. Her vibe was nothing like me. Her interests in music were nothing like mine. And so she filled a spot, but she didn't fill my spot. And I think
Right.
it's a really interesting lesson for people to learn, both as employers on how to treat people who work for you so that they don't want to quit. Because right now, people are bleeding employees. And what I learned at Much Music is both what to do to keep people and also what not to do. Um, I actually had a very interesting experience when I went and I asked for a raise. I think I'd been on air for 4 years, and I was, according to the mail that came in, and those were real letters because we didn't really use the internet at that time, I had the most mail from anybody. And I found out that I was being paid substantially less than the men. Shocking, right? So I went to the vice president and I asked him for a raise. And his response was, "I hear you're very difficult to work with." And I was like,
What?
what? Well, it's interesting because you have been working with me for 15 years. So you know that
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. And I went, what? And yeah, he said, yeah, I heard that you're very difficult to work with. And so I said to him, I quit. I
Excellent.
quit. And I didn't answer my phone for like 5 days. I didn't show up for my shifts because I was like, don't you dare do that to me. My dad told me it's the oldest management trick in the book is to make you feel bad about yourself. Guess what, buddy? It didn't work because I knew that I was really good at my job and worked really hard.
Right.
So that's one of the many stories that I share in that keynote and the ancillary effect of what happened after I quit. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to book me for a keynote to find the answer.
All right. I kind of know what happened. We may have discussed this over wine, but I won't share here. All right. So here's what I think is going to surprise people. You know, you're on MuchMusic, you're on everybody's TV. You start a digital website. You know, you're out there all the time. I think people will be surprised to hear you're an introvert.
Yeah. And you're not.
Oh my God, no. I am like the most extroverted. I am the most extroverted extrovert. Like I think I did one of those Myers-Briggs tests and I think I was 98% extroverted.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I,
probably like 34% extroverted, probably.
yeah,
Yeah. I know it's a weird thing. I'm very comfortable being quiet. I'm very comfortable listening, which is probably why I love interviewing so much because I don't have to talk.
right.
I just have to follow my curiosity and then ask the questions that I want to hear the answers to, and then listen very intently to the answers because a lot of interviewers don't listen. So, because they're extroverts, I guess, and they're just waiting to speak, they want to say something. But interviewing is really about listening, asking the right questions and listening. And yeah, I'm very comfortable not being the center of attention. And that's kind of like when I launched Yummy Mummy Club, it was an incredible thing for me because I got to use my notoriety to build this platform, to get access to eyeballs and the media. But I found all these gems like you who were very comfortable being out and um, having a strong voice. And so I was able to really sit back and, like a proud mother, watch all these amazing female storytellers just own the space. So I didn't have to speak a lot. I was very comfortable being around a lot of gregarious, talented women. I don't need to be the center of attention. I just like to be the one pulling the strings.
What does it do to you though, like physically, spiritually, you know, to be in this space and be an introvert? For me, for example, as an extrovert, it fills me up. I'm on a high when I can be around people. Does it exhaust you?
Going to parties with a lot of people is my least favorite thing. Small talk just does not jive with me. But the idea of sitting with you
Mhm.
or anybody and having a one-on-one conversation for 3 hours does not exhaust me. It lights me up. So I just like to communicate one-on-one. And most of what I do is one-on-one. Or I like to be on stage because I get lit up by teaching and connecting, entertaining and connecting. So when I do my keynotes, when I'm on stage, I'm looking in people's eyes. I can tell when they're engaged. I can tell when the light goes on. And so again, it's not about me being on stage. It's me affecting the way someone thinks. I think is really powerful. So that lights me up. It's just being in a loud room with all these conversations and everybody fighting for space. I'll just walk away.
And here's something else I think is going to surprise people. you're a songwriter, but not just like a hobby songwriter. You're a wildly successful songwriter. So when you left Much Music, you focused on your songwriting career. So how did this shift shape your career and sort of influence your approach to the creative process?
Well, it was life-changing. I had met my friend Tim Thorney, who was at the time just a friend of mine, and through a series of events, like me quitting my job on Much Music, he said, "Can you write a song?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I went over to his place and we started to write. And he was like, "Emmy, you're pretty good at this." And we ended up partnering for a decade. We wrote around 300 songs. We started a record label. We started a little publishing company. We produced, I think, 6 or 7 albums together. And what it did is it allowed me to better understand the experience of being an artist. Even though I can't sing, so I was behind the scenes, I still was part of the creative process. Before, when I was on Much Music, I was asking people about what that process was like. Once I was part of the process, I was able to ask perhaps a little more insightful questions because I was part of the world of artists and part of the world of interviewers. So it just gave me a better understanding and more skills. And I would say that one of the highlights of my life, I don't know if you know this, but I hosted the pre-show at the Junos one year. And one of the prizes or that I had to give away was for Best Canadian Country Vocalist. And my album and artist won. So my artist, Cassandra Vassick, came on stage and I gave her the Juno from the album that I wrote for her. So that was,
And you did not, did you know when you were presenting that this was happening, or did you know when you, I'm assuming, there was an envelope opened or
oh no, no, like
the,
you have to do it. Like you don't see it before. So I knew that I had to present
nominated?
that. I knew that she was nominated and I knew
Yeah.
that that was one of the categories that I would be presenting in. And when she won, it was like, oh my God, I'm hosting the Junos, pre-show Junos, and giving out an award for music that I created. What a special time that was.
Did you feel like there was like this push pull on that award? Did you want to keep it?
I did
Since you
keep it.
wrote the song.
I have one of them at home as well.
Sorry, you
Yeah.
can't have this. It's mine. That's
So I
amazing.
wanted
And
to
you
give it
also,
to her. It was what a thrill for all of us. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And you also wrote a song for Van Morrison.
Well, that actually was a song that Cassandra had recorded, and she had opened for him on one of his shows in Toronto, and he heard the song, and so he took that song and put it into a medley of his.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
I forgot about
That's
that.
amazing.
Hmm.
That's amazing. With things I dig up on you, you're
Yeah,
surprised, aren't you?
try and find some dirt. I'm so boring. It's all
You're
about, well, you
definitely.
accomplished this, you did that, but no dirt.
So, all right, let's go back to the Yummy Mummy Club then,
Okay.
because you move into this space, and what did that space mean to you personally? And there were some challenges at the end, and what did that mean?
So I'm going to start at the beginning. So, what YMC meant to me was for the first time, I get kind of emotional. For the first time, I met people like you. I didn't really fit into the music business because I'm not I don't drink, I don't party. I don't like to be an asshole. I like to read a book. I'm an introvert. I am very moved by art and creativity, but I was never part of you know, the rock and roll scene, man. That I didn't want to go to clubs and everybody was drunk and it's like, Erica, I'm all right. And I was like, back off, dude.
Yeah.
And when I had my kids, um, I was lost because I'm type A. I've always worked, and I didn't know a lot of women because I worked really in a man's world. And so what when I started YMC, it was purely selfish. I just wanted to make friends. Like I get emotional.
And you did, though. Think
I
about how, and I did. You're going to
I
make me emotional.
it was incredible. I think we changed the lives of so many women. And I have friends that are like you. I'm such
Okay,
an awesome.
I made Erica cry.
Yeah, it's my heart. But
It's true.
it's a very, you probably planned it. You knew exactly what would push my button.
You
Anyway,
can get me back another time.
it was Much Music was a great time in my life. YMC was more meaningful to me personally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and also the fact that we together built something monumental. Like, think about it, Candace. We won awards and we
Mm-hmm.
beat out mainstream media. And we
I
were a
know, it's
bunch of
crazy.
moms working from our homes way before there was Zoom, way before it was okay to hear children screaming in the background of business calls. We
Yeah.
did something so powerful together. And I say we because I was the cheerleader, but I could never have done that myself. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
worked way too hard,
Yeah.
right? And we didn't do it for a lot of money, but we
Yeah.
did it because we knew that there was purpose. We were making a point that women or moms are not invisible, that we have a very strong voice and we're actually smart. And don't underestimate the power of a woman with a kid to get things done.
Yeah.
So that's why I get emotional because we we were very successful business wise. And we were also, as you mentioned earlier, we were very successful in terms of creating a community of women who supported women. And now YMC is much smaller and everybody has gone their own way, like you building this beautiful community. But here we are. We're still deeply connected. And I know you are deeply connected with so many of the other YMC women. Like, we are bonded. We went through
Yeah.
something really special. And uh, and when how do I sort of segue into, I hired a man. Da, 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 da.
And
When
that's where it all went south.
I hired a man when my mom was dying of cancer, and my daughter was going through a lot of mental issues as a teenager. The company was making 1.5 million, and it was too big for me. And I felt really out of control. And so I hired a man to take over the business for me and just
Hmm.
report back every week. He changed a lot of the staff and brought in some new people. I see you smiling.
Hmm. I'm biting my tongue.
And I didn't agree with a lot of the things that he did. However, I do believe as a leader, if you hire somebody, you need to give them a chance and you need to let them do what they need to do in order to get their job done.
Hmm.
And within 3 years, he had bankrupted my company. That's the short story.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he very graciously agreed to quit so I didn't have to fire him. And I was basically uh, and I called
Yeah.
you. I called you and I said,
Yep.
Candace, basically and you said, how can I help? And so
Because that's what we do.
that's what we do. And we put together a
Hey, listen,
very,
I want to just pause you for a second because you did the same for me.
mm,
When my world fell apart in my divorce, you're the first person there. You
Hmm.
rushed in. You made it public. You were like, no fucking way is this happening to my friend. Because,
Hmm.
and I remember your words because you said we've been caged up for 2 years and we're angry. So let's, because this is just after the pandemic, and you were said we are going to do something with this, and I thought I believe you.
And we did. We did.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
I
got the
mean,
bank
yeah,
to stay its
to give me
closure
some
on
time to
notice.
think. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the
So,
power of women getting together again. And, I know that a lot of people only know me through Much Music. Well, Much Music didn't have that. Although I did have some good girlfriends that I made at Much, Natalie Richard being
mm-hmm.
probably my favorite person there. But there was a woman named Joni Daniels who worked there, and she and I were like our own little shit disturbing team. With Joni, she and I produced shows that nobody wanted to touch. Like, I came up with an idea for a show called Fashion Notes, which would be interviewing street fashion designers because I felt like music and fashion were so interconnected. And I always like to wear really sort of street clothes. And so the owners of Much Music, they let me do it. And so Joni and I were like a little team. And then we started a show called Indie Street, where we interviewed really alternative bands or independent bands. She would sort of produce it, I would host it, we do it together. And then I started a show called Between the Covers, which was a book show where I interviewed all the stars that came into Much Music and even the ones who came into city TV, like baseball players. I would ask them what book they're reading and to explain the book. And then I put together a photocopied book reading list, and I would manually mail out the book list to anybody who wanted something to read. They would have all like, Nirvana, pick this book, etc., etc. So, and that was Joni and I. So that's again, power of women.
And your love of books continues. You have a book club.
Yes, it's okay. My daughter is will be 20 in December, and our book club started when she was 2 weeks old. So my book club has been going for almost 20 years. And it's not my book club, it's a book club that I joined when it was just
Hmm.
starting. And they're extraordinary women in a variety of ways, and we all like to read. And so we do read the book, we talk about the book, and everybody who hosts their night um, puts on some sort of thought into the evening. They either do like themed food, or um, sometimes we bring people in to speak, or I don't know. There's a variety of things that we do. So I'm doing tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. In a few weeks, everyone is coming up to my cottage for book club, and they don't know this, so I hope nobody listens from my book club. But the theme that we're going to do is we're going to play games, because tomorrow and tomorrow is about video games. Well, we're going to play board games and charades and stuff like that.
So
And
you answered my next question, which was going to be, what are you reading right now? So you're reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and who is that by?
I can't remember what her name is, but what an extraordinary book. I loved it so much. And I'm also reading another book which is called The Uglies. Well, it's a trilogy, The Uglies, The Pretties, and I'm not sure what the third one is called. And it's YA. And it's a dystopian novel about a future where when teenagers turn 16, they're given an operation to make them look pretty.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, they also at the same time get something put into their brain that also makes them dumb and passive. It's fantastic. I'm loving it. My daughter read it first, and because she enjoyed it, I'm reading it now.
What's your favorite book of all time? Could you pick one?
Uh, I think the books reflect different eras in my life. One of my favorites was The Stone Diaries, Carol Shields' book. Um, there was a line in it which I think kind of changed my life. She said, Daisy Stone let life live her. And I vowed when I read that book to make sure that I lived life on my own terms. And there was a really powerful passage. It was almost 2 pages long, and it was a list of all the things Daisy Stone never did in her life, like skydiving. I don't remember, but I remember weeping when I saw that list, um, because it reminded me, to take on new experiences and don't have a long list. When you're dead, make that
Yeah.
list really short. I know that you do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I generally leap before I look. Typically, which is maybe not the best way to do things, but it's brought me some amazing experiences, like working with you, which was, I'd never written anything
I know.
in my life.
I know. When we first met, and I thought you were really cool because you were running tools for schools,
Yep.
and you were an entrepreneur, and so I said, "Hey, do you want to write the business column for YMC?" And you're like, "I've never written anything." Oh, you'll be great. Well, I didn't know how great you were. You were,
I didn't know I could write. I mean, I'd written like basically for my diary. That'd be about it.
yeah, I
So,
can tell. That's well, you know that. That's my superpower is I attract amazing people. And I discard crappy ones really quickly. I can tell. And the good ones, I just never let go.
yeah, you said that to me once too. You're like a stalker boyfriend. We're always going to be around.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, because I know that you're very observant and you think deeply about things. So let's talk about the digital space a little bit and how
Mm.
that has changed and where do you think it's going? Because you know we talked, like, we met on Twitter, and that space was grassroots. It was fun. It was light. It was a really great place to connect. But it's morphed into something just horrible. And now we have all these different platforms. Where do you think this goes for us as a society?
So I don't know. I know that me and you and many other people don't want to be on our digital apparatus to connect with people. And I think
Hmm.
COVID, I think, had a big part to do with it because not only are we disappointed with the big media companies and and all the algorithms and the polarization that it's bringing out in people, which is all dangerous and sad at the same time. um, I think that we're all craving real life interactions. And I remember when we all first met on Twitter, we would have tweet ups and we would all sit in the room
Hmm.
together and we would tweet. We wouldn't talk. Do you remember that? All of our heads were
Yep.
down, but we were together in the same room, so it was great. And then
Yep.
I think it was like about 5 years ago, we all stopped doing that, didn't we? We all
Yeah.
started to say, what are we doing? We need to be present. And so all of us who work in the digital media space stopped posting when we were around other people. We made a conscious decision to really live in the moment. And I think it probably has something to do with the fact that many of us had teens at that point. And so we are seeing behavior that we didn't like from our teenagers or were worried about and saw it reflecting back to us that we were doing the same kind of things. So here's what I think. Someone just mentioned it today, actually, to me, that they're noticing that the younger kids right now, is that Gen Z? Is that
Gen
what is,
Z. Yeah. Yep.
they are rejecting a lot of this, like Twitter and Instagram. They use it they use it sparingly. I'm noticing my daughter barely posts on Instagram. And she also has been saying, I just want to be with my friends.
Hmm.
So I think that I don't know if, I don't know what will be next. I don't know what will replace it, but I do feel that the younger generation who grew up on this are craving something different. And they're the ones who are going to be inventing the next wave of things. And when I mean inventing, they also might be inventing more in-person opportunities and require more in-person opportunities. So I don't know, because I'm sort of looking and watching, but for example, I jumped on threads. Like
Yeah.
I
Yep.
signed up for an account, but I haven't posted yet because, oh my God, how many platforms can I be on?
It's exhausting. Yeah.
It is
And you feel
exhausting.
like you become a slave to it. When
Yes.
you work in this field, you become a slave to it. And that's what I hate about it.
Yes. And it's because there are so many people who are fighting to be heard and will do just about anything to be heard and seen and make money. I'm an introvert. I don't I don't want to yell to be seen. So like for
Mhm.
example, on Instagram, I don't even have, I think I have maybe like 10,000 followers, which is ironic because in the real world, I'm really quite well known as a personality. But I don't have a lot of people who follow me on Instagram, and I won't play the game. I won't wear weird clothes. I won't
Yep.
do contests. I
Yep.
won't cry, well, like I just did here on your freaking podcast. I won't, I won't be dramatic. That's not my personality. So I'm
Right.
just me. And if you're
Yep.
interested in just me for like a pretty normal woman with who has occasionally brilliant things to say, then you'll follow me. But it doesn't matter. Like numbers don't mean much to me. And I feel like I think that and I think you would agree that we kind of invented the concept of influencer when Much Music, sorry, I keep on mixing up Much Music and YMC because they're both such powerful times in my life. But YMC was mine. I invented it. And when we started to work with brands, I had come up with this concept of connecting, like we had built a very strong audience and connection with moms. And a lot of moms from across the country really believed in what we were saying because what we said made a lot of sense. We were very influential. And all these brands were coming to me and saying, "Hey, we'll give you a broom if you write about us." And I'm like, "Dude, that won't pay my mortgage."
Yep.
And I'd say the famous line that I shared with everybody, which was, "What's your budget?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" That's right, dude. Pay to play. And so we came up with all these opportunities for us to create content in partnership with brands, but it had to be accurate, authentic, true for both parties. And I launched a marketing agency called M&Co, which became very successful because I was working with amazing women who understood how to have integrity and tell the brand story at the same time. Um, and what was interesting is everybody, all the moms wanted to be part of YMC, but like I had 50 people who were writing for us. I didn't have room for anymore. And so we started the YMC community, which were other amazing women who all had their own websites and Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts. And we would hire them to amplify our content or
Mhm.
to create content based on the brand that we were working with. And that was way before there was anything called influencer marketing. We invented it. We created an influencer network. We had at one time 500 families
Yeah.
who had signed up to partner with YMC. And I think the whole influencer business also has really imploded
Mhm.
because so many people tried to game the system and, getting fake followers or creating really terrible content and pretending to be influential, but they're not. I'm influential. I'm actually influential because I am consistent with who I am. If I say I like something, people know. You can't
Hmm.
buy me. It's because I
No.
actually like something. I mean, you can pay me to be a brand ambassador,
Right.
but like Dove did, oh my God, I was so
Yeah.
proud to be part of, and I know you also love the brand, love what it
Yep.
stands for, pay me
Yep.
for
Absolutely.
sure. But my integrity remains consistent by working with brands like Dove, for example. I don't work with a lot of brands anymore
Hmm.
because I only have 10,000 Instagram followers, it's just so funny and ironic, and it speaks to a broken system.
And it's funny, the lessons I learned from YMC I carry with me today in what I do with what she said. And, I could fill my show every week with paid content, but I don't because I want to bring good content to people. I want to bring good stories and share and make a difference. And so it matters to me. I won't even joke with you. I've literally kept it alive during the pandemic on my retirement savings because it meant more to me to tell a story about a woman who was struggling and how she got out of it than to share some crappy special on pizza and make it into a 6 minute interview, right? Like I could do that, but I wouldn't have an audience and nobody would trust me.
And that, my friend, is what you and I have in common, which is we understand that your audience comes first.
Hmm.
If your audience is not entertained, if your audience doesn't trust you, you have nothing. And the brands do not understand that. And when they ask to create branded content that reeks of bullshit, they're shooting themselves in their own foot.
Hmm.
And that's why I won't do it. You won't do it because it serves no one.
Was it Sharon that said more story, less hoary?
That would
I say
that
that.
would sound like her.
I say
Exactly.
that. I say that all the time. Like, we
And
do not have to whore
YMC,
ourselves out for this.
no. And when we create and still do, because we're still doing, YMC is still alive. Like I sold it to Toys R Us, and thanks to you helping me get it back on its feet. And we're still doing branded content, and it's still good. We just do less of it these days.
Right.
But it's still good. And I think Ashley McInnes, she's going to do some stuff for us because she's pregnant again.
Yeah, and
So,
she's gorgeous.
and
Like
gorgeous.
just
And,
gorgeous and pregnant. Like I mean, and one of the nicest people you ever meet. So,
and she
yeah,
creates great content.
she really does. Yeah.
She really understands, how to tell a story that is true. So, yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm
we
still
need more
working.
Ashleys. We need more
Yes,
Ashleys in the world for sure.
yes,
So
yes.
let's wrap this up then. What are you working on now? What are you working now, and what are you doing next, or what do you want to do next?
So, well, I'm running YMC, and I do that on a part-time basis because I have the team from Toys R Us that are helping as well. So I don't have to spend that much time doing it. It's in a different place right now. I'm in a really interesting space right now where I'm doing a fair amount of keynotes, which makes me really happy. I speak a lot to women's groups or I speak to entrepreneurs. Those are like my two sweet spots to motivate, inspire, educate, that kind of thing. And I am now in that space where you're open to opportunities. Like I feel like my call it my third act is, in it's somewhere just around the corner. I don't want to start another business myself. I want someone to say, I want you to join my company in some way and help us grow. That would be sort of a dream for me, but I don't know what it is yet. So I'm, the fact that you asked me, thank you for asking, because I could put it out there to the universe and people who are listening, that I'm kind of fierce. So if you want me to work for you, be prepared for a very fierce, focused person.
I can attest to that. If they want a reference, I'll give it. But you don't micromanage. I have to say that. You don't micromanage. I mean, I worked almost a decade with you. You never micromanaged me. It was always just give me the job and you just trusted it would be done.
Because it's disrespectful. Who wants to be micromanaged?
Right.
If you pick the right people and give them the right instructions and back away, they'll do incredible. That's what I was saying earlier. Like Sharon DeVellis, who still works for me, I don't ever talk to her. Like I literally never talk to her. Not because I don't like her, but I don't need to. She's handled. She knows what to do. And every once in a while I'll check in and she'll go, yeah, all's good. I'm like, okay, great. That's what leadership is. And that's why I love speaking about leadership, because I think I know some secrets about leadership that many people don't. And it really comes down to understanding human nature and treating people in the way they need to be treated, and also finding the right people for the job. And leaders need to give very specific instructions, and I don't think enough people do that. So you need to be clear. It's like when we ask our clients to give us a brief, that brief has to be good, because we're going to go away and create something based on what you're asking us to do.
Right.
And when we come back and they say, no, that's not good, we'll go, no. This is the brief. You told us, and we did meet all those objectives in the brief. And I think leadership is the same. When you work with people, you have to be very candid about what the expectations are. For me, I don't care what anybody works. I don't care where you work from. I have certain things that need to be delivered in a certain way at a certain time. Do it. And then and then often things were like, that's 85% of the way there. Can you change this, and this? Great, sure, no problem. Good.
Yep.
Who wouldn't want a boss like that?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I'm basically unemployable right now, because I worked for you. That's why I have to be self-employed for the rest of my life, because nobody would ever be such a good boss and a friend. So I'm happy that you joined me for this. This was a long time coming. So thank you for sitting down with me for this
Thanks
podcast.
for making me cry, Buck.
Well, whenever I get the opportunity to do so, I like to.
You really know how to. Did you know I was going to tell me? Did you know I was going to cry? Did you know?
I didn't, but as soon as you started to cry, I thought, oh, that's on brand. Because you do cry. So yeah, that was on brand. So
whenever we have our big YMC meetings with the 50 people, I would inevitably cry when I was thanking everybody for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That made me laugh. So thank you for joining me. So where can people, do you want them to go to your website? Do you want them to, well, not Twitter. So where can they connect with you on social?
Well, I actually don't mind Twitter. And I'll tell you something interesting. Amber Mack, a while ago, we were chatting, and I was telling her that, I'm not really happy with Twitter and I'm sort of pulling away. And she said, Erica, do not do that. That's what they want, is they want women and they want progressive people to leave. She said, you need to use your voice now more than ever. So I'm staying there. So yes, you can find me on Twitter. I may not answer on Threads, sorry. LinkedIn is always a good place if it's sort of a corporate, some sort of a business opportunity. That would be a good place. And then I have a website, which has not been updated for a little while, but whatever. It's still there, ericm.com. Shocking, I know.
All right, excellent. Okay, we'll have you back again someday, I'm sure. And you're sitting in my happy place right now recording this, so I will come see you there soon as well.
Yes, the cottage is the best.